Namaste everyone, Jai Hind, welcome to MMK The Eagle View. Today we are going to see a very important topic about the lessons we have, geopolitical lessons we have on what happened between Iran and Pakistan. So first of all, we all of us know it's really good for us as a country, because we always have a hypothesis of a 2.5 front war, or at least a two front war, one with China and one with Pakistan, which are very strong, time-tested friendship, which they call deeper than the sea, taller than the ocean and taller than the skies, and so on. So now Pakistan has to think about their military strategies in terms of the same 2.5, or even I would say a three-front conflict. One, a full-scale war with India, and a very high-level conflict with Afghanistan, and possibly a high-level to a very high-level conflict with Iran. So does the country have the military muscle and the economy strength to really do it? The answer is no. Maybe China could help them with a few military hardware, and that to Chinese military hardware, but we really don't know beyond that. Second, it clearly takes away the rhetoric of Pakistan. When we did a Baluchistan airstrike, Pakistan's defense was India is trying to initiate a war with us, India wants to occupy territory. They were trying to portray India as an occupational force who shows intent to occupy the Pakistani territory. Whereas if you see the Pakistanis press release, their external ministry's statement yesterday, it was verbatim what we spoke during Baluchistan strike. Pakistan says our forces, security forces and people are being killed mercilessly by the terrorists who are operating from the in the Iranian soil. So we have all the rights to protect our country and defend our citizens. That is why we went and did a strike on those terrorist camps. This is what precisely India had said. Now in future, Pakistan does something like Pulwama or what is currently happening in Poonch and Rajouri. If this kind of escalated response comes from Pakistan, India would preemptively or correctively do a strike deep inside Pakistan, and Pakistan cannot get away with it, because verbatim this is what they spoke: we are taking on the terrorist to protect our country. It is very much applicable for India, for Afghanistan, and even for Iran as well. Now Baluchis are the most punished people in this entire thing, because this entire bombing of Iran and Pakistan happened in Baluchistan and Sinistan. Both are Baluchis heavy. They are one of the possibly the most backward people of backwards community of Asia in the current century. So they are getting backward, battered from both ends. So it's time for India to extend its relationship with Baluchis living abroad, the Baluchis expat community, and to also legitimize Baluchi freedom struggle, because remember, Baluchi freedom struggle is not about a religion, it's about nationalism, Baluchi nationalism. So it's time to recognize them formally. We need to do that formally, start engaging with Baluchis, and possibly Baluchis do have formed a kind of a government in exile. The way we have recognized Tibet and we have allowed Tibetis to have a government in exile, it is time for us to do those diplomatic moves. Now Iran's vulnerability has also got exposed, because till date Iran is one country has been indulged in proxy war with almost major countries of Middle East, but after 1975, I suppose, this is the first time Iran is getting hit in its own territory. Pakistan's airstrike is seen, if you look at the statistics, they have been hit. It's almost 50 years plus now. So now this gives a clear idea to Israel and US and its allies forces that Iran's air defense is a question. Their air defense has been weak. See, look at the situation. I have done a preemptive strike on Pakistan. Now I'm 100% sure Pakistanis will respond. So my air defense system will be all eye alert. It will try to prevent those intrusions of missiles and aircraft based missiles and land based missile systems, but nothing ever happened. So it makes Iran vulnerable for a direct attack from Israel specifically. And now China is also is under stress, because China has mediated with Pakistan. They told them not to strike back Iran in return they will make Iran do a public apology, but Pakistan didn't listen to it. Pakistan has done a strike against Iran. So China is also angry with Pakistan, and Chinese investment, especially in Baluchistan, the Chinese companies who are involved in dredging, who are involved in mining, now Chinese return on investment, which is already a question mark. China will have to further rethink about its further BRI investment in Pakistan, because this is going to be a disturbed area in the coming times, quite sometimes now. And this is clearly kind of creating a Shia Sunni divide. The Islamic world is kind of, they were trying to have this Muslim Brotherhood, and they were uniting. They put a united front just on October 7th when Hamas did an attack on Israel. But now within 120 days you can see it's been collapsing like pack of cards. So the wedge between the Islamic world and especially the OIC is very loud and clear, which in a way is beneficial for the entire world because they have oil. A lot of countries are dependent on energy security with this oil producing nation. So this is going to be a good break of power which will benefit the world in a longer term. Now this also kind of creates an opportunity for Russia, because Russia and US can come into negotiation tables, and if they don't put their boot on ground, especially the Americans, if they don't put their boot on ground and they do their war with proxies, they will be the most happiest person to do so. That's why they set a plan in terms of to use Ukraine and to make Ukraine join NATO and give the NATO postures to Russia, threaten Russia and trap Russia into a long drawn war, like the way they got in Afghanistan, and eventually Soviet got broke into several nations. Similarly, they were setting a trap for Russia, but eventually after 2 years of war, if you see, the Ukrainian GDP has collapsed by almost 40%, whereas the Russian GDP has reduced only by 2 to 3%. Russia is still strong, and people who know Russia know that they are the wealthiest country in the world, because they may not be bigger in terms of absolute GDP, but they are the wealthiest country in the world in terms of minerals, be it gold, silver, energy, oil, natural gas and everything. So Russia is staying strong. US has been spending money, and the desired results which US thought Ukraine will get is not getting it. Ukrainians are also tired of this long fatigue, combat fatigue. So somewhere we can hope, if Trump comes back to power in the coming US elections, we may see an end of tunnel as far as the Ukraine-Russia conflict is concerned. Now, we as a country, now we spoke in favor of Iran. We said every country has its legitimate right to self-defend. So we said we are, nothing wrong. We understand Iranian situation, so nothing wrong in self-defending ourselves. So we have come out of that cycle of trauma which we were trapped in way back in 1990s. I would say 1980s, when the Khalistani movement started. Later on, the terrorism movement, jihadis were made active in Jammu and Kashmir. So we have been managing these terrorists and all these militant groups by way of effective counter-terrorism grid. We have been successful in it reasonably, but it costs huge sum of money, and it commits large amount of your military into a non-conventional operation, which is CT-ops, counter-terrorism operations. Now it's time for us to rethink, do we need these many forces, 3 lakh plus forces, handling a few hundred terrorists in the valley? Now, because we have the right to self-defend, it's better to have take the battle to the enemy territory, because Pakistani air defense also got exposed now, and after Iranian strike, Pakistanis moved a sizable amount of forces from their eastern border to their western border, which is basically the India's border to the Iranian border. Now Pakistan also has to go back to the drawing room, think if that India strikes tomorrow and India's kind of role play, and Iranians, even if they don't directly target them, if they do a proxy, use one of their proxy assets to create a conflict in their Pakistani's western border, that is going to create a lot of problem for Pakistani's existence as well. So all these things gives us a clear advantage that the talks and terror cannot go together. That's our policy. That's been working really well. Now it's time for us to rethink the kind of response we should be giving for those incidences like our soldiers getting killed, 20 odd of them got killed in the past 3 months in Rajouri. So for such act of terror, should we do engage with them in our own land, or should we do it in Pakistan? Now, when we did this in 2019, the world, few of the countries were not okay with it. They said, no, don't get into a war. The world's need peace, and India should restrain as a bigger country. But now the bluff has been called out. Israelis have struck inside Lebanon for the very same reason. Americans have done it in multiple countries, so it is legitimized. Now Iran has done in multiple countries. Pakistan also has done. So if you see all this series of nations getting in, so it's become a new norm that if some country engages in a proxy war, use those proxy assets, the jihadis, against another country, the other country has the rights to do a preemptive strike or target those terrorist camp inside its enemy territory. So it is not accounted as a war. Now this has become a norm. So now we need to really rethink our strategy as far as this particular incident is concerned. Now what other options does Pakistanis have? The Pakistanis air defense has been exposed. They have been quite angry with those Chinese hardware. There are open criticism by Pakistani retired officers, especially from the air defense regiments, where they openly said these radars are useless. They are not able to detect the incoming missiles from Iran. It came all the way. We also remember the last year we had fired a BrahMos mistakenly, and that went inside the Pakistani territory. So they were not able to detect that as well. With whatever amount of air force and air power you have, if your air defense is weak, we saw how many Russian aircrafts got shot in Ukraine. And in the initial first 2 months of a time, Russia lost considerable amount of air power, and they restrained from using air power inside Ukraine, and they started using these kamikaze drones which they got from Iran. So now we have a clear advantage because we have this S-400s imported from Russia, and we also have our own missile defense system, Akash based missile defense system. So now it's time for us to think more about a short range missile, a much shorter range missile, maybe in the Akash series or something else, which can target all those military assets of Pakistan along the western border, because that is going to completely nullify the Pakistani Air Force. Even now, with instead of using those expensive S-400s, if we consider a cost-effective short-range missiles of 50 to 80 kilometers ready to can be fired from a tank or anything. I'm just saying that should be multimodal capability. That should have a multimodal capability. That is clearly going to give us a great military advantage. China has a lot to worry here. Firstly, their puppet Pakistan has not listened to their words. They have fired against Iran, and Iran, when it fired against Pakistan, it was not informed to China, which they expected them to do so. All those Chinese investments, the so-called Global Security Initiative (GSI) by China, wherein they give money and then take the money back through their contracts, built useless assets like what they built in Sri Lanka, the Hambantota port, the airport which was built in Rajapaksa's hometown, Nepal's airport which has hardly seen 10 aircrafts landing till now, the state-of-art infrastructure. Maldives is already getting into their land. So none of this will be enough for a country to surrender its strategic autonomy, at least to a certain extent. If Pakistan is not able to do this, if Pakistan is resisting to do so at this point of time, imagine a much better country like Italy or Bangladesh. They will not be able to, surrender their diplomacy, surrender their sovereign rights to China. So China will eventually have to put their boots on grounds if they really want to. And the art of Sun Tzu is not working as they would want to. Art of winning war without fighting it. Eventually, if you have to win a war, you have to fight a war. So these are various lessons we currently took from this particular incident. We also need to see the press release of Benjamin Netanyahu, where he mentioned when the press reporters asked him, why are you fighting only with proxies? Why can't you fight a direct war with? Are you scared of fighting a direct war with Iran? He said, who said this? We are going to fight a war very soon. We will not let Iran acquire any nuclear weapons, which will be an existential crisis for us. Now this opens up a window for Iran also to go on a direct conflict with Iran, because Israel to have a direct conflict with Iran. So Iran also will have to be brought to the negotiating table, because none of these wars will do any good for humans in any country. But Iran's vulnerability has been exposed and Israel is ready to use this. So that is also coming up. If Iran goes to their nuclear weapons, we can 100% expect a direct strike by Israeli Air Force in Iran, which is quite far away. So it has to be an air war. The war will be fought in seas, war will be fought with missiles, and Iran will be also fighting a ground offensive in terms of employing their proxies who are Houthis and Hezbollah. So it's going to be a very complicated and very interesting situation in the coming years. The next 6 to 8 months will answer a lot of our analysis which we currently discussed. Hope you like this video. Thank you all. Jai Hind.